You know what I love?
What?
To laugh. You know what kind of people make other people laugh?
Comedians.
That's right. And you know what the best kind of comedian is? Not sitting down comedians. Standing up comedians.
I think I say a comedian who just happens to be a Christian.
Oh, those guys too.
Yeah.
And that's why today we're having Dustin Nickerson into the studio. He's driving his car up from San Diego right now, and he's going to pull up any second.
He's going to jump through the window into that chair.
Get into that chair that we're going to put right over there.
And we're going to have a laugh riot.
And it's going to be a real riot of laughter.
Yeah, it'll be like a Black Lives Matter rally with laughing.
So I really respect Christian comedians that just tell good jokes.
Yeah. Yeah, and Dustin's a funny guy. We had a great chat about, he's been a youth pastor. He used to go to Mars Hill Church. What are some other tidbits? Do you remember?
The Mars Hill Church thing, the youth pastor thing. We like to ask comedians their worst bomb stories.
Oh, yeah, I had some good bomb stories.
Which is just fun in an interview to be like, tell us about the absolute worst moment of your career.
Yeah, good one.
Let's relive it together. And he remembered his bombing stories with incredible detail.
Yeah. Well, yeah, this one was pretty rough.
The heckler was wearing a red sweatshirt. He's just very intense, but and I felt bad for him in that moment. But
yeah, so we like talking to comedians. We're trying to do more of it because they have a fun perspective on things. So Dustin's here. And it's going to be it's a fun talk. Join us.
Join us for Dustin Nickerson. Hey.
Oh, and he has a special.
If you want to watch his comedy, you can go on Amazon and check out Overwhelmed. Is the name of his comedy special. It's out. I believe it's for purchase. I don't think it's on free Amazon Prime streaming. Okay. I think it's like $4.99 or something to rent and maybe $10 to buy or whatever. But Overwhelmed on Amazon. Here we go. All right, everybody, welcome Dustin Nickerson. How you doing?
Thank you.
It's not Nickerson or anything.
No.
Okay.
No.
Cool.
Nickerson.
We have a habit of mispronouncing our guests' names. So
good.
Yours is pretty easy.
Yeah. You know, pretty straightforward. If you mess that up, you're just trying to tell a bad joke.
It's true.
Yeah. Are
you saying I'm trying?
No.
So
comedy, huh?
Comedy.
Perfect. That's exactly how I like to start.
Where do you get your ideas?
Yeah. How do you come up with your material? That's great. It's it's like the only question you get usually.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you make up jokes?
Yeah.
So you live in San Diego. You're from the Northwest.
Yes.
Seattle area.
Yes.
We were talking about this because I'm from the Northwest as well. So when did you start? What made you decide to do comedy? What makes people make that decision? Is that like is that your main thing you do?
Explain yourself. Defend your decision.
Yeah, you sound like
and then to be
I'm being lectured.
Clean, do you call yourself a clean comic?
Clean comic. I don't use the label. It's not like
it feels like you're calling everybody else filthy.
Clean comedy, Dustin.
Not like all those filthy people.
Yeah. No. I do happen to work clean. But the best compliment you can get as a clean comedian is that nobody noticed.
Yeah.
Like after the fact, they're like, "Oh, I didn't even notice, that you weren't up there sinning."
Does that go the other way? They're like, "I didn't even notice that you swore like a sailor."
Yeah.
You're
so funny.
You hear any of the F-bombs?
I think that way as a comedy fan. Like, I don't think in terms of like dirty and clean. It's just funny and not funny to me. So
it's like how Christian artists don't like to be called Christian musicians.
Yeah, some of them.
Comics don't like to be called.
Some really capitalize on it.
Yeah.
But it's like, I'm just an artist who happens to be Christian.
They say that, but then their band is some pun of the word son, only S-O-N, and you're like, we didn't mean to be Christian. I'm like, seems like you did. Seems like you knew exactly what you were doing.
You get 316 in the band name. Yeah. We kind of know what you're going for there.
Yeah, the name of your album is Lord of Lords. I think you knew your exact move. They like to do that once they get to a certain level, though, because I feel like in Christian entertainment, like you can get to a certain point faster there because you've made a smaller market. You know, so you're like, oh well, I can get, and then once they're like super established there, they're like, well, we're not really Christian artists.
Yeah, once you like tapped out the Christian market, broaden the door.
Yeah, exactly.
Look who's talking Babylon Bee.
Yeah. I wasn't gonna say it, but as long as you guys say something,
we're a parody of that.
Yeah, well, that's our
excuse for everything.
That's how the Babylon Bee got on like my radar, is because I would get tagged by friends every once in a while, like, oh, have you seen this, or like you guys would, like, I have an essential oils bit, and you guys would do, and I would kind of get tagged in that. You guys had an old headline about a pastor driving a Corolla, and I used to do a bit about how I was like the average Corolla, and so that's kind of how it popped onto my head.
You're saying we stole all your
No. Hey, listen. Nothing new under the sun. But again, now that you brought it up, I like some of those. One of my favorite B headlines is like, I really like the absurdist ones. And there was one for years ago, and the headline is Joel Osteen now flies.
I don't remember that one.
I don't know why, it just struck a chord. And it was just in the sky. I don't even know. He might have done something ridiculous the day before.
It was the power of his positive declaration.
Yeah.
I now fly. I think that was an Adam Ford original.
Really?
Before we took over the site and ruined it.
Now
we
flies.
could do a full book.
Oh, is that not a compliment to you guys?
No.
Because that makes me like it even more.
I was working with Adam at the time, but that's the complaint we always get.
Oh, okay.
Like when Adam sold the site, that's when it got ruined.
Oh.
Yeah, we sold that.
But I was always writing a lot of the material.
Is that you guys like, is that because you're bigger now? Is that what got ruined it? You know how it is? Like, are you guys Green Day? Did you sell out?
Yeah,
is that what it is?
Yeah, this is our American Idiot.
Yeah. You wear makeup now?
Yeah. Eyeliner. We should do an eyeliner episode.
I think anybody who like feels like they were around originally, it's just the hipster thing.
Yeah.
To be like,
well, there was definitely a shift where our first year or two, the Babylon Bee was way more big for its Christian church jokes.
Yeah.
And those kind of ran their course in a lot of ways. And also then the Trump election, everything happened. And the political humor, just like, we always had both.
Yeah.
But I think early on the Christian humor did much better, and then it just shifted. Like the political jokes do much better now.
Right. So, and you just got to give the people what they want, right? It's not about artistic integrity.
Wherever you
God
can
forbid you have a soul or a conscience. Just
exactly.
Do what Elon Musk retweets. That's what you got to do.
Exactly. Done. We finally got that. We tried with like 6 different stories to get his attention.
Yeah, we
finally got it.
That is an actual thing you guys do. Those are conversations you have?
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah. No, I don't blame you.
It's a thought in the back of your head.
It's more like
when you're writing an article. Like,
sure.
It's like, can we get their attention?
Yeah. No, I get that. I have a joke where I reference John Mayer, and I've thought many times, I would like if he saw this. I wouldn't mind.
So it's kind?
It is, yeah. It's a story about which the story is so real it sounds fake, but it's I'm doing some real pioneering stuff and joking about how white I am, real edgy stuff, really changing the comedy game. Okay. Yeah.
I don't judge people's race.
But just teasing about me and my wife being just this cartoonishly white couple. And my wife, one time, this is a true story, we were at my son's soccer game, and his friend came up who happened to be African American, and my wife asked him his name, and he said Jameer, and my wife said John Mayer. I just stood there flabbergasted. Like, is that really what you think?
White translation.
That happened? That how would that even? You think this little black child's first name is John Mayer? That's how you're reading this scenario. So, but I would love him to see that.
I was at the playground with my kids one time, and there was a small black African American child there too.
Yeah, we say black now. As long as
I don't know which one you say.
I did both. I went African American and then black. Yeah.
They kept calling him little black boy. Like, don't call him that.
Like, come here, play with us, little black boy.
Yeah, they're being really sweet to him.
Yeah.
But in their mind, that was the thing to call him, little black boy.
Yeah. Children are, I can tell you this with confidence because both live in my house. 70-year-old men and 13-year-old boys are the least woke group on the planet. They have no amount of progressivism to them whatsoever. But there's none. Like my 13-year-old son and my 70-year-old dad, totally aligned.
Yep. Huh.
And the words they say and the words that they think they can say and what they think is funny, the exact same. And so maybe you just take a break between 13 and 70 as far as like, hey, I need to exist socially in the world a little bit more, so I need to dial back a few words. But I feel for my dad, like we were talking about, he's from Coos Bay, Oregon.
That's where I'm from.
Yeah, which is
so random.
It's very random. I've spent a ton of time in Coos Bay. And then the Lakeside connection, even more so.
Yeah, I live in Lakeside. It's tiny. Yeah. Like Coos Bay is the city to us. Like we drive 20 minutes in
the bright lights.
Coos Bay.
Mm-hmm. They've got the Red Lion. They have 2 hotels. It's the bright lights. But I mean, he's like he was born in 1951 and his high school had a black person, just the one, you know, and it's like you can only, like, AARP does not send out a newsletter saying, hey, these are the words we can't say anymore. You know, like you can only expect so much from someone born in that setting. Like he's very lovely and kind, but you know, there's a little rough around the edges. You know?
What kind of words would he say?
Only.
I think my mom's born in 1950. So yeah, she uses some of those words.
In Coos Bay? Do our parents know each other? There's a chance.
Oh, there's a chance, huh?
Yeah. I will ask.
Possible. Do you guys want any snacks or anything?
No. This is going to be exclusively, and then we're going to move on to Reedsport. We're just going to do all the 101s. Yeah.
Or worked Safeway in Reedsport.
My dad had a really sketchy doctor in Reedsport that would give him pills he probably shouldn't have. You know, the Reedsport way.
Wow. Well, we can't talk all day about Coos County.
I think Oregon. We can, but
I mean, we can.
I don't want everyone to feel left out.
Lots of beaver jokes, or I don't know.
There's beavers. Well, yeah, they're proud of them.
They are.
I saw one. It took me like 10 years of living in the area to see a beaver finally. I think I was back visiting, actually.
It's like getting bar mitzvahed when you're in Coos Bay, like you have seen your first beaver.
It's a coming of age story.
Put the hat on you or something. I don't know.
Well, they make it sound like they're everywhere. And I don't know, they hide well or something. I don't know.
We're the clean comics, so we're talking about the
animal.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
We're the clean comics.
Yeah. Not even in question on this pod.
Exactly.
Nobody had made that connection until you just now.
Just called like it sees it. So Seattle, huh?
Yeah. So technically, Federal Way, which is like right next to Tacoma. But then, you know, when I got married and I went to the University of Washington and lived up there for about 10 years. That's where I like identify a little more, you know, like I've lived in San Diego for like 9 years, but Seattle kind of, especially like growing up in Seattle in the 90s, like it's a very like iconic, very like, you know, like this is who you are time, you know, it's a very strong identity.
Are you grunge?
Yeah, I caught like the tail end of grunge, like in like kind of the punk scene coming after it, because like Cobain died in 94, so I was 10, you know, so it was like, you know, I was around, but you know, I'm not going to a lot of Nirvana concerts at that point, but not yet. Yeah, just a few. I mean, I wasn't 4 or 5 a year max. So I caught like kind of the tail end of it, you know, but it's like, you know, it very much like defined the era, that and Sean Kemp and Ken Griffey Jr. I mean, that was, you know, pretty rock solid time for Seattle in the 90s.
Yeah. Well, so you see something like Chaz happen in Seattle, and
surprised it didn't happen earlier.
Yeah, and you see, that's what I'm saying. So you see it, and you're like, oh yeah,
that makes no sense. Surprise whatsoever.
What's going on in Portland? I'm like, because I lived in Portland before I moved here, and it's like, why wasn't that happening before?
Yeah.
It seemed like it was always bubbling up.
To me, it only seemed like a slight exaggeration of what Capitol Hill already was. As someone who spent a lot of time there, I was like, I mean, you dialed it up maybe a point. You just named it. It was better branding. That was all, so it wasn't a surprise at all. And also not a surprise that it didn't go well. As many wonderful or, utopian ideas are. Oh, what's that? There's no cops. People are getting murdered. What a stunner. What
crazy.
What a huge surprise. A lack of law enforcement. Not to make light of that, but that was not a surprise at all.
Yeah. I had something. I forgot it.
So San Diego.
Yeah, San Diego.
San Diego.
So why is that?
He lived in San Diego.
I did. I love San Diego. It's my favorite city in the world. So why do you go to San Diego? Huge comedy.
I mean, if you lived in San Diego and you're on trial here, why did you move to?
Well, I didn't move. I moved halfway.
I'm okay. Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah, that's right. Are you guys undisclosed?
Kind of.
We always say general.
Although the location of our office is in the New York Times.
Oh, yeah, they put like that.
Because I said, don't tell us where they are, and they just put it in the caption.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, thanks. Appreciate that.
So you left San Diego.
I did.
Okay. Why'd you leave?
Basically for this job.
Okay.
Yeah. But we'll ask the questions around here. San Diego. San Diego.
San Diego was an excuse to leave Seattle. Like I was working at a big church up there named Mars Hill Church. You may have heard of it.
Oh wow, we're gonna need to get some.
Yeah.
I work like the Christian autonomous.
Yeah. I work. Yeah. Maz, Mars Hill. No, I worked there, and I always say, like, people are like we left. But not before the crap hit the fan. It was rising, and we're like, "Hey, let's get out of here." San Diego seems nice, and had a job opportunity down there. And I wasn't doing comedy at the time, so but we moved down there, and that's when I started doing comedy. And now, it's like there's the mass exodus out of California and stuff. But like, if you live in San Diego, you're like, it's fine.
Yeah, it's such a cool place.
Yeah, it's pretty lovely down here, and like the. It's I mean, I'm sure it's even more so in certain counties here, but I made the joke this morning of just like this second round of lockdowns. It feels a little bit like when one parent grounded you, but the other parent has to enforce it, and they're not as enthusiastic. They're like, they just kind of have to save face a little bit. They're like, nah, you can do whatever you want, but don't tell them,
and you've caught on to the grounding is not really as enforced.
Exactly. Yeah. But because at the end of the day, it comes down to the cops, and they don't want to do it.
Yeah. The cops are like, we're not doing, we got plenty of work to, we had this whole national conversation about how the cops have way too many different things to deal with, and now you're going to add on them getting on everybody for if they're eating, wearing a mask between bites.
Yeah, you really feel for them. Yeah,
are they omnipotent? Like, how are cops supposed to handle any of this?
I did a show last night in Anaheim, and it was like it was so funny because we were just like, I mean, is this illegal tomorrow? Like, are we criminals at midnight? Is this? And it was a drive-in show. So it was a drive-in show, and
so you hear like muffled laughter inside closed cars.
I know every once in a while you guys, your pods, you hit with those hard-hitting questions. Do you have any good stories?
He listens.
Yeah.
I like how our guests do more research than we do.
I'm a stand-up comedian, by the way. I don't know what you know or don't know about me.
Dustin Nickerson.
Yeah.
It's that bad joke.
But there's plenty of like bad stories and stuff. Like, I've been booed off stage, or I've had. I had a proposal. I remember one time there's a proposal before me, and the girl said no. There's been like amazing stuff, but all the bad stories are now this year.
These are going to come in the subscriber.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
But like now, all the bad stories are this year's comedy stories. Like drive-ins are terrible. I mean, there couldn't be worse. It's like.
Worse than Zoom?
It's way worse than Zoom.
Oh, really?
Way worse, because at least Zoom, there's something, like it's like one thing to be at a show and like walk somebody and see them leave. It's quite another to hear them turn on their engine.
Oh, yeah.
and see them drive away. Like, Like in the other scenarios, like they might be going to the bathroom. Like, no, they're leaving. They are. Yeah, exactly. They like you could have like changed your fan belt before you are being heckled by a squeaky fan belt. So it's all real bad. But the guy, I was talking to one of the guys at the venue. I was like, so this is it. And he said like one of the saddest sentences I've ever heard. He goes, yeah, we're canceled. You know, everything's shut down. It was at the Grove in Anaheim. He goes, we had to cancel the Beach Boys next week. Oh, man. That's like the saddest sentence I've ever heard. But also just like, this is where we're at, California. You can't come listen to the Beach Boys in your car. This is not allowed. Like, because it was a drive-in. It was not, but because it's the shared bathroom. That's why the drive-ins have to close too, you know?
They can't bring like a bottle or something?
Yeah, exactly. They could find their way.
Yeah.
It's not like, all right.
This is a country where we pull ourselves up by our bootstraps and figure it out.
Yeah. They hand you a mask and a catheter as you come in.
Yeah, colostomy bags we provided.
Yeah.
At the gate.
I'm sure at some point there's going to be a singularity because they're closing down all the small businesses and all the gatherings. And eventually you're just going to have everybody in one.
Yeah.
Like the store.
The store. Right. Yeah.
And you have like 1 million people in the city like in there.
This is the pandemic free store.
Yeah. Well, they've shown too that like when you close down stuff, it just makes people go gather in homes more, which is way worse as far as like this.
Right.
Yeah.
Like it's just, I don't know.
And then the curfews, which is a weird thing. It's like, no, if everybody doesn't go out for a certain amount of time, then they'll all go out more around the same time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that should help too.
You can't get COVID after 10. You can't get it sitting down. It's great news. You can't get COVID sitting down. That's significant. I love it. I always prefer sitting anyways, and I'm safer. I think that's what's like for me, like I'll hear folks like, talk about like, oh, it's government control and they overreach and whatever. You have your stance. I don't care. To me, it's just shown an absolute, like the incompetence and the arbitrary nature of it. Like in San Diego, we had a point where I was just like, went on it. I was like, okay, so just so we're clear, schools closed, strip clubs open.
Yeah.
Churches closed, casinos open. As long as you admit to the arbitrary nature of it, don't play any game where you're acting like one's safer or more dangerous. Just be like, hey man, we don't know what we're doing. This is absolute guesswork.
Is it they just know churches below bay, or what is it? I don't know. Churches need to be more well, there's some that have been pretty rebellious.
Yeah, MacArthur, right? MacArthur went to bat, which like, if that's like been your life's work and someone's like, hey, you can't do this anymore. Like, I understand where he's coming from. I'd say easy. It's the best excuse. I've had to skip church for 9 months. So we've been late to Zoom church every week in the living room, late every single week. So I'm not like dying to get back and sing Oceans next to a stranger. There's no part of me that's like, get us back gathering, but I'm not a pastor, and if I was, maybe I'd care a little more on that.
Yeah. This is completely off the track, but I was listening to one of your comedy things, and I made an offhand remark.
It's a great sell. One of your comedy things. All of this does feel like a grandparent interrogating me. What makes someone want to do comedy? Why would you make? I watched one of your comedy things.
No, you made this off to the side remark where you said. You said salsa, and you said, or salsa, if you've heard my other jokes, and I haven't heard the other jokes you're talking about, but my wife continually gives me crap because I pronounce salsa. If I'm not thinking about it.
What the heck?
And she thinks
never heard this before.
An anomaly. So you said that.
No, it's a thing. Yeah, my it's a part of.
Is it Northwest?
I don't know. My wife, she's from nowhere. She's a military. She's a military brat.
In the lab.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, I mean the MCU's nowhere, the distant planet. No, it's sorry, too nerdy.
I got him.
No, she grew up military brat, and so there's not like a distinct identity there. But like I think her mom said it, and she says it, and it's a part of a larger bit where it just say like your marriage is really like marriage is like it's less about like, it is about like how much you adore somebody, but it's also how much you can endure them. And like, can you stand their terrible things? And my wife says salsa and I laugh about it, but I see it like hurt other people.
Oh,
like,
she says it.
She says it and they go, oh gosh, you know, and it like really, I mean, we live 15 minutes from Mexico now, so the pronunciation of salsa is important.
That's pretty bad for saying.
We live in northern Tijuana. But I can put up with it. I can handle it. That's
I've learned to change. I don't say it wrong anymore.
Good. Yeah.
How does she pronounce tacos?
She's a little racist. She actually doesn't eat Mexican food, and that's why she says salsa. It's actually a disparaging way against the culture. It's between that and Jameer. It's really her and my dad get along great.
And have your wife on the show.
She's a big fan of the bee. Big fan of the bee.
Nice. I imagine so. Got a good racist audience.
So is she an essential oils saleswoman?
No. She sees through that stupid nonsense. That's all in your brain, baby. Just like religion. But there's some truth to that idea. What I mean, right?
We're right here, dude.
You believe? I said I go to church when I'm
church.
I'm on the team.
He's just a comedian who happens to be Christian.
Exactly. Not a Christian comedian. That's all in your brain, right? Like. Peppermint fixes nausea. I mean, if you want it to, it can. I bet it.
They have one for everything. Yeah, I have an in-law. She's deep into the essential oils mafia.
You guys should watch my stand-up comedy sometime. I talk a lot about this stuff, and I sent you a free copy of my special. So
I did watch it.
The reason I brought it up is because they watched it and told us to talk to you about it.
I watched it on the car drive.
And I watched the first 10 minutes or so.
The 41-minute car ride.
Yeah.
I watched it. Well, I didn't watch it, but
I didn't get to the essential oils part.
No.
It's about 11 minutes.
But I was giving you a chance to... I just missed it.
It's right after the guy falls asleep.
The thing is that I did this morning, I was like, I'm going to listen to something the other guys didn't listen to. So I listened to your Zoom. It was like a quarantine comment.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
See?
That is definitely something that very few listen to. That was... it
was one of the first things that popped up when I searched your name and video.
Oh, that's good. YouTube, it's well, you guys know that because you're starting to do more video stuff with this. That you're like, oh, I have like a bunch of, not a bunch, but I like on Instagram, people are like, oh, this is like a guy. He does some stuff, and on YouTube, you're like, oh. He's trying.
Yeah.
He's trying to be here in this new space.
YouTube's brutal.
It is, because it's social media and a search engine. And so you're just like...
And none of the social media wants to let you share it.
No. If you share YouTube on Facebook, it dies.
Yep. And Twitter doesn't... Yeah, they all want you to use their videos.
Yeah.
So getting people to actually share it. And it's...
They're like a divorced... parents.
Yep.
Where you're like, you say something nice about your mom, but your dad didn't want to hear it.
Yeah, you're corrected.
Yeah, I'm not going to support that in any way.
Yeah.
Anyways, my parents are divorced.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah, Coos Bay. I didn't have a chance. My dad, we're going back to Coos Bay. He always says this. So Prefontaine, from Coos Bay. And my dad went to high school with him. And, Prefontaine
he's a runner.
Sadly, I mean, he's the runner, right? Very sadly died in, a drunk driving accident. And my dad said, you can take the kid out of Coos Bay, but you can't take the Coos Bay out of the kid. Like, he was just still a good old boy, who was like, I'll have some drinks and drive without a seatbelt around Eugene. Super sad.
Oh, man.
Anyways.
Yeah, I used to deliver newspapers on Prefontaine Lane.
There you go.
Yeah. Anyway.
Coffee, pastries. You're good. Okay.
Kyle just grew up in California, so his has a boring life story.
Why does that make it a boring life story? I have a boring life story for other reasons.
Yeah,
your parents were too good.
You never got to share your testimony. Yeah, exactly. At the retreats and stuff.
I really got robbed because I have great parents. Grew up in the church.
Yeah, I always get to share.
Middle class, just so sad.
Yeah, what a waste.
They really screwed me.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Mom and Dad.
Usually that makes for like a more exciting adulthood. But you kind of just stayed boring.
I just stayed boring.
Yeah.
Didn't rebel.
No.
Yeah. Did you ever rebel at all? We were interviewing Kyle now.
My rebellion was like...
Did you like hit a bong once?
Well, so our church growing up was very like... mainline, seeker sensitive, like kind of a little wishy-washy and stuff. So my rebellion was like getting hardcore about theology.
Oh, okay. That's the thing I mean.
Nice.
Between me and my wife. My wife was always a real rule follower. And I think she's like hitting this point where she's realizing like I've just followed every rule ever and I feel like I'm like in this box or whatever.
Yeah.
My rule following was a bit of an act of rebellion because my parents never really told me to do it. And it was like this weird thing because I grew up an artist and I was around artists all the time. It felt more rebellious to like be more conservative and to like actually listen to preaching and like, I don't know, to be more, to not be like a total hippie that's just, doing drugs and drawing while I'm high. So it was more of my choice rather than feeling like I was following the rules.
Yeah.
So yeah,
you rebelled against
I know how you
the rebellious groups. No, it's fine. I'm just happy to be a part of it all. I guess
if you're a Seattle rebel, you're rebel in Seattle, you like become a police officer or something.
Moving to Portland made me more conservative.
That's funny.
Yeah, well, if you're like constantly like in the extremes, then you're like, sometimes I like when you like, I don't know, those cities are like full of just regular people, but they don't necessarily write the headlines or they aren't the spokespeople.
They're not trying to be the mascot of the city.
No, exactly. That's a good way of putting it. Yeah. They're not.
This is Bob.
Yeah. They're not.
He's our mascot.
Yeah. Like most people like see a camera and they're like, I gotta go to work.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have like really what Seattle's full is of, 100,000 people that work at Microsoft. That's what Seattle is full of.
Yeah. And game designers and stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's,
Well, I guess the game designers probably were at Chad's, a lot of them.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. Who knows?
I like the idea of like having like a soft, like a little, like you got into theology as your rebellion. That's so funny. Or like maybe not as hardcore. You're like, well, I don't believe in the pea in tulip. Yeah. Like that was it. I'm out. Like, oh my gosh, we got a real prodigal here.
Yeah, they cast me out on the whole thing.
So you were a youth pastor.
Yeah, kind of.
Wait, was this at Mars Hill?
Yeah, but that was like, it was more like, when like if you're like, when you're in your early 20s and you're trying to figure out what you want to do with your life, if you happen to be around church circles, sometimes you just kind of like pick up a job there.
Yeah.
And you're like, I was like, oh yeah, maybe I could do ministry. Like, like I said, I'm on the team and this is cool. And then, but like, I was like 22. So I was only age appropriate was to do youth ministry. I'm not going to get into marital counseling, I was like, I'm barely older than a few of these kids. If
you're not Josh Harris.
Yeah. Some of these kids were like freshmen when I was a senior and I'm like, I'm your pastor now. It's a little bit. So I did that, but I was like never like the main guy. I was more like the planning guy, Gotcha. Like it was a big church. So it was just like, there was multiple roles and I was
So you didn't do altar calls?
No, I mean, maybe a couple here and there, but.
Do you do altar calls at the end of your comedies?
Exclusively. It's actually the last, I do an offering and then an altar call.
It's the Carmen approach.
And then another offering. Yeah.
I think there's big money for Christian comics. Like go around to churches and be like, oh, I'm the Christian comic. And they do like a love offering.
If you can nail that market, I guess.
Hey, worship leader jokes, man.
Yeah. There's like some, like, huge comics in the church world, and I've always had kind of like a foot in that world, and some of them are freaking hysterical too, like Tim Hawkins is one of the funniest people I've ever met. On and off stage, so funny, like just effortlessly talented, like he can do anything. Like we would be like I toured with him for a couple of years on and off, and we would be like I'd take like 6 weeks off and I'm like, hey man, how was your what'd you do? And he's like, I learned French and piano. And it's like in 6 weeks, like he's just that guy, like he like walked on it, like, to play baseball at Mizzou, got a scholarship, then quit, like just like I can do whatever I want guy. So there's some that are really fun. And then there's some that are just like, oh, you're here because this was your only option.
Yeah. Nothing else.
Like, because like they're nicer here. And you can get, and there's
Christian comedy.
Audiences, there's no drunks.
Just ready to laugh.
Yeah.
You mentioned worship leaders.
Yeah, exactly. My experience in that the ones who are like the funniest of the Christian comedians are the ones though who started and or are still in the club circuit, because like that's just. It just makes you better. It's just because it's harder, It's like anything. It's just more intense training, you know. So, but that goes both ways, because I've dealt with rowdy drunks and plenty. And I'll take
at churches or.
No. I will say a drinking Christian crowd is like the best crowd you can get. It is like, like I was like, oh, this is gonna, because you guys like appreciate kind of the cleaner stuff, but you're a little looser as far. Well, I mean, obviously biologically in that moment you're a little looser, you're impaired, but but their sense of humor a little less uptight, So like if you have some Christian fans that like come see you at a comedy club and they have a couple drink minimum, and I'm like, this is ideal. This is perfect setting right here. But I'll take that over like, I've done like youth gigs and you're like, oh gosh, give me the rowdy drunks as opposed to like the angsty teens.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I did a junior high lock-in once. And what they did before me is they had, this was early on in the career. And, there were a lot more yeses early on in the career. There's also been a lot more yeses in 2020. I don't want to do it, but I rent. And, but right before me, the junior high pastor got up and he's like, hey, before we bring up the comedian, never, just bring me up. I don't want any before, And he goes, everybody come get a pixie stick. And they got the big pixie sticks, like the huge one. And they go, everybody pound it. And then we're going to have a contest of who can scream the loudest. And so the 5 minutes before me was just them pounding drugs, just putting drugs in their system and then yelling. And then they announced me, but nobody heard it. Because they were still yelling, and so now I was just the guy on stage, and it went real bad. And most of the room, it wasn't that I bombed, it was most of the room just started doing other things. Like they're like, we're gonna go over here and play soccer. We're just gonna go over here and start passing notes. It was yeah. Anyway, I would do that gig next month if I had the opportunity right now. It's been a slow year. I would say the biggest slap on the face so far, to go back to making fun of California, is when they had me renew my business license. And I was like, you're not going to let me be a business?
Yeah.
But you're going to make me renew my license? This seems insulting. So it's like when they're giving parking tickets in LA right now. You're like, oh, so you're not allowed to leave, but you got to move your car. Yeah. Like, come on, guys. This seems...
Still going to get there.
Exactly.
Yeah. Back to Coos Bay, I snorted a pixie stick on the school bus.
Yeah?
Yeah. On a dare, I snorted the entire pixie upside, turned it up.
The yard? Or
it burned.
The small one?
No, the smaller one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Anyway, that's all I got.
Could you taste the flavor? Or was it just all...
It was a burning.
It was a burning.
Yeah.
It tastes like burning.
It tastes like burning in sinuses and a little bit of lime.
That would be... that would be a better... that would be of lime. That would be a better version of Hot Ones. I mean, spicy wings are one thing.
Levels of spicy pixie sticks.
Snorting pixie sticks. So, Paul Rudd...
All right, ready for the
Tell
next
me
one?
about Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Sriracha ain't a big deal, right?
Look at us.
Those sauces, I bought some of those sauces from Hot Ones. I was curious,
Yeah.
They're no joke. Like the Bomb Diggity, I think it's called. The Bomb one?
Yeah.
The Bomb.com, something like that. It's like it's the second to last one.
Yeah.
And it is like... Yeah.
Is that an enjoyable experience though?
No.
Yeah. Who's that for?
But no, it's interesting because I'm like, you'd think or unless they put something different in there, because you just think celebrities, how would they, you're putting yourself in I guess that's what makes the show interesting. They're somebody that's always that perfect, and then they're going to like eat something that hot and see how they handle it.
Yeah.
Because I was curious. So I got the little bottle. I should bring it on the show.
Yeah. But those are real products. Like who's consuming those?
I think people, I like hot. I like really hot. Like, but that's like, that is a certain level where, It is like, it kind of crosses into that, like,
being a masochist.
People that cut themselves. Then they pain that's real, It's like that.
The only thing I can feel.
It taps into other sensations.
The goth of flavor.
Exactly. It's like goth. It's manly goth. It's like, it's goth with a flannel. Or whatever. I don't know. Or beard.
Wearing black flannel.
Beard goth.
You just take it and go in the mirror and cry. Put on the Cure and just
sing the Nine Inch Nails while chugging
Johnny Cash heard
the bomb.
Yeah, you have to do manlier music. It has to be Soundgarden. It has to be AC/DC or something hard,
Fantastic. So why'd you have kids?
That's I was just wanted to fulfill the Abrahamic covenant.
Yeah.
And be fruitful and multiply.
Correct answer.
Next question.
Fulfill that quiver. You got married young, right?
Yeah, I was 19.
Wow.
I had turned 20 like 1 month prior. So
wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I beat you.
You beat me.
So how different are you from when you got married? Because a lot of people get married that young. They're like a whole different person, like 10 years in.
Yeah, totally different.
And your wife still on board? Or?
Pretty similar. She's similar to who she was.
But how's she handling you changing?
I think she likes me better now.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. I think. She liked me then. But it is like...
She liked me.
She liked me. She married me. She was on the team, to keep using that.
But if you get married at 19, it's more that you just like the idea of marriage, right? You don't really know.
Well, you're also a Christian and you just can't wait to have sex.
Yeah, you gotta do it.
Yeah. You're like,
that was my primary consideration.
Yeah.
Mine too, but I still couldn't find anybody until I was like 32.
We were like, we started dating in high school and we were good. I don't know, this is a personal question.
Sure.
Have you,
I've super personal.
I have, cause like the purity culture stuff is very much, at a youth group. And then you always wonder, you're like, are the older Christians doing this too? Are they waiting? Like I've asked my wife, I was like, if we started dating now and we're 35 or 36, but in high school, like, when you're in like youth group culture is like the only sin is sex and lust. Like that's it.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, hey man, did you look at porn this week? No. Great. You're like, I bullied a special needs kid. And like, they're like, that's fine. You didn't look at porn. It's totally fine.
And he's lying about that.
It's totally fine that you lied. Not a big deal. Really, the only one God cares about is literally the only sin. And which just like makes it worse in some ways that you're like, that was like the old, like, it was the Joshua Harris thing, like the bouncing eyes or whatever. You're just like, that just makes you look like a freak. You're just like walking around in public, like you look schizophrenic. You can't, you're bobbing Nicolas all the time.
Yeah.
Like, no, I think you need to teach someone to be able to politely go up to a young woman and have a normal conversation. Like, why won't you look me in the eye? I'm not supposed to make eye contact, you harlot.
I can say as a man who's courting at age like 30, 31, oh yeah, it's much harder. It's like, we're adults.
Yeah.
We're adults.
You don't have a youth pastor.
Yeah. Nobody, like literally no one will judge us if we're doing it at that age.
None.
It purely has to be
I judge you that you didn't. Yeah.
We did pretty good. I'm not going to get into detail.
Those verses are kind of loose anyways.
I always figure, there's so many guys.
What was Ruth doing at Boaz's feet?
King David, with things he did.
Yeah, keep the marriage bed pure. That's pretty vague. Pretty.
We're good.
Besides,
marriage is a social construct anyway, so,
We'll start saying things and you blink if you did them before marriage.
We all blink. How far did you go? Is this a contest?
Yeah.
It's the game with the fingers, like I never have I ever. Yeah.
It is funny to reflect back on that like time of your life though, because you're like, we've been married for 16 years now, and you're like, that was like the only thing. Then it was just like, don't have sex, don't do anything, purity. Like it's the only thing that mattered.
Yeah.
And now you're grown-ups and you have real issues going on in your life. It's like, I have to study for finals and not have sex. Those are the only things, in my world right now.
So now how many kids later are you?
We have 3 kids, and we will, Lord willing, we will be having no more kids. Yeah. My wife wanted 4. I wanted 2. We had 3, and she pretty.
Did she break you?
She almost. It seemed like I think she scheduled my vasectomy during labor. Oh. I think I was like it was on the calendar fast, and I was like, This wasn't a discussion that we had. I think
she scheduled yours.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Right.
I wonder what percentage of vasectomies get scheduled during labor. Probably high percent.
Yeah. Exactly.
They got the salesman right there.
Yeah.
I noticed you're in a lot of pain.
Yeah. Would you like me to ensure this doesn't happen again?
So you had kids just for the jokes?
No, I wasn't a comedian at the time. Right, right. I was. I started comedy late. I was 27, had 2 kids, been married for 9 years. I was.
Had the thought crossed your mind up to that point, or
no? I didn't know. I didn't know how to do it. Because there was I love stand-up now. Oh, figure that out. The stand-up comedy, I always loved stand-up comedy. It's when you were it's grown up 90s, early 2000s, it was on all the time on Comedy Central. Comedy Central is a lot like the MTV, and that it doesn't play music anymore. They barely have stand-up anymore. Mm-hmm. But when we were growing up, it was exclusively, it was just all the Comedy Central Presents and South Park and then the Daily Show, and Chappelle Show. That was what the channel was, Mm-hmm. And so I love stand-up comedy. And then when it was almost like a bucket list type thing, for lack of a better word. But then when I moved to San Diego, when you move and you don't know anybody anymore, you're I've always wanted to try this.
I can reinvent myself.
Exactly. There is a little bit of that because it's less embarrassing, If I would have grown up in Seattle, everyone's he went to an open mic, is Dustin okay? And the answer was I was not, but at least I could be not okay in anonymity. And so I just went to a local open mic at a comedy club, and stand-up is so hard and bad, especially at first, that people are I've always wanted to try it. I'm well, do it, and you will know right away if you want to keep doing it. Mm-hmm. It will teach you pretty quick. Yeah. Because it's never worse than the beginning. You go your first few sets, and when you do open mics for the first couple of years, it's just you come in and there you have there's little phrases that you use that only make sense in the comedy world. You're dude, they're 7, but they're a good 7. You're oh, okay. So we're working with, or there's sometimes you'll perform literally for nobody. You're just like a psychopath in the corner, just broadcasting these jokes. And you tell yourself that this, I remember, so one of the first things that, early on, I started. It can be really helpful in stage time to run a show early on, because then you get a guaranteed stage time, and then you're booking people, and sometimes they'll book you back and stuff like that. So I inherited a show. There was another show at a little place. It's close to where I live, called Space Bar. Space Bar is an internet cafe, which very dated. It's called a coffee shop.
So it's like Space Bar.
Exactly. There you go. And it was always
not space,
but it's like Space Bar.
Yeah, it's got 11 meanings. It's
it's pretty deep.
It's bad coffee, worse comedy. It's really bad, and it was always so bad. You had all the normal distractions of I remember I'd always get so mad when somebody would order a smoothie, because the blender. Oh, yeah. And I was this is going to be 3 minutes of blender. You would almost just wait it out. But I remember one time, so they had, it's like this old internet cafe, so they actually had computers. Yeah. And I'm on stage bombing for 4 people, and I look over, and the computer to my left, there's a guy on the computer with headphones on watching stand-up comedy. He's watching Daniel Tosh, and I'm I'm right here, and you're watching. But in the moment, I can't blame him, because that is better than what he's seen. It just felt particularly insulting. So those were a lot of the early gigs, stuff like that.
Yeah, we had a little coffee shop in Wyoming back in Coos Bay. Yeah, and they would do acoustic. They do acoustic shows.
This is a big deal. This is, I'm the only guest that.
I know, just remind me, they do acoustic shows.
Yeah.
But then every 2 minutes they'd be blending up some kind of frappuccino smoothie or something. So they'd be the guy would be I look into your eyes.
the gig there at the Mill. So those are like, that's a type gig that you do is casino gigs, you know, and those are like some of the worst ones you can do when they are open to the casino, and you just hear like ding 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 like in the back, and you're just
playing their games and you're talking.
Yeah, exactly. Like you hear someone yell because they want a bunch of money, and it's.
I get like playing piano like that, but doing comedy like that seems like
it's bad.
Punishment. Like they're trying to.
It is a punishment. It's all a punishment, and it's.
Is the pay good?
No.
Wow.
No, the pay's never good, but you have to like learn how to do it, you know, and like you just have to learn how to, when you do the bad gigs, you know, you just get better at it. Like some of the early road stuff that I did, like I got on the road pretty early because, you know, I was like, I got to figure out how to make money at this. So I have to have longer time. I have to have an hour. I have to become a headliner. I have to figure these things out. And I would go do these casinos in like, you know, Arizona, Nevada, stuff like that. And a lot of time you would do like a cold 30 and you there was no introduction. You just walked up there
and talked for 30 minutes.
And then you went, that's what it felt like. And a lot of time people are like, what's happening? Yeah. Like they didn't necessarily know that there was a show. Just brutal. So I remember like it was such a big deal to me when I got to perform in Vegas for the first time, because I had to like earn Vegas because I did all the other bad cities in Nevada. Like I did Prim 3 times and Laughlin and Pahrump and Mesquite, you know, and I was like, finally. Like it's very depressing when you had to do Mesquite because you have to drive through Vegas like an hour, and you're like, no, that's where the shows are. I'm not supposed to be going past this to go into Mesquite to bomb. It's not even really a bomb. It's like you're just like a show's not happening.
Yeah,
you're just there, and people are like, is this?
What do you do mentally? Like, do you imagine just one person that you love that is watching you, laughing at everything you say?
You find the people that are enjoying it,
like you just
go straight to that.
And but if there's nobody though,
you just kind of just like going to like a Will Ferrell in Old School. You like black out. You're like, like I don't know what happened. You at first you're so like.
Can you explain the plot of Old School for me and homeschool?
No, I will not.
I've never seen it either. Actually.
Yeah. Okay. Wow, that's very much, I thought, in the zeitgeist of most adults.
Most people have seen it, yes.
No, it's a huge movie to not see. Okay. But I understand that you guys are better Christians than me. And and whatever, nerds. But yeah, you just like, at the beginning of camp, like, you're just like really... You're scared of bad gigs, and then you do enough of them that you're just more annoyed by them. You're like, I was hoping this would have been a good one. You know?
You start cussing out the audience?
No, that's happened one time. I've lost
You did that?
I did one time, yeah.
You just cussed out the audience?
No, 2 girls. They were women. I don't know why I said girls.
Were they heckling?
They were little girls. Yes, and everybody on stage liked me except them, and I would make fun of them. And everybody was laughing, including their friends. They were all laughing. It was a group of women. There was like 11 of them. It was a winery gig. Winery gigs are so brutal because like the show's at 7, but they got there at 2. Yeah. And they're gone by the time that you get them. They're just in a haze, you know? And so like, dealing with drunks is, I always use a metaphor, it's like moving a mattress. Like even when you got it, you don't really feel like you got it. You know, you're like, I could lose you at any time. And that's how it feels. Because when you're drunk, there's no social cues. I can look and be like, shut up. And they're like, this is stupid. You know? They're like, no, I need you. And the gigs like that never have. There's no security. There's no nothing. You know, it's just you up there. You're your own security. And
you should carry pepper spray.
Yeah, for that reason. That's good. Yeah, just start. Yeah, that would have been I'm not big enough now to get canceled, and I certainly wasn't then. But pepper spraying some women in your audience is probably they wouldn't shut up.
That would go big.
These
on
women
YouTube,
were
though.
talking. First off, it's like church. The women shouldn't be talking in general. Couldn't believe they were in here without their head coverings, and everybody was laughing because we were having a good time with it. It was, it was fun. And they like flipped me off and because they were like stewing.
You lost it.
I wouldn't say I lost it. I said some choice words. I believe, to edit my own self, I believe what I said was, F me, why don't you go F yourself? And then I called my wife and I was like, I'm sorry.
This is on YouTube now.
Yeah. Dan, roll tape.
Yeah, exactly. This was a winery in Temecula. I don't even think they have the internet there. Don't know that it's made it.
This wasn't Spacebar.
No, this was before the bright lights of Spacebar. Oh, and it's at Spacebar. It has the logo. At too. Yeah, at Spacebar.
They should have put on the A in bar. I don't know. Space Badger.
That's one of those areas that in California that's just kind of acting like nothing's happening. Like you go to Temecula and you're like, okay, you're not. There's nothing. There's no math. It depends where you are, but they're just kind of acting like, nah, it's all fine.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
that is correct.
That
is the general area in which I live.
Yeah.
So. Oh yeah, you're down in that area too.
Oh, okay.
We just walked through the mall. No one's wearing masks.
Yeah. Hey guys, kissing. All kinds of stuff. Yeah.
Licking doorknobs.
Yeah.
The whole thing.
Yeah.
That's pretty great.
Which goes to show my story, a good comedy crowd, doesn't matter if you're conservative or liberal. It matters if you're at what level of sobriety you're at.
Is there a difference in crowd? I mean, I don't know, between like big city, small town, or more liberal, more not, or even just like culturally? Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, I like, I like to be versatile. Like I like to feel like, I want to do well everywhere, which means I do pretty good in most places and I'm great nowhere. No, that's not entirely true. But the point being like, there's different, like I heard your episode with Dan or Larry, the cable guy. And, there is some truth to what he was saying, as far as like liberal crowds can be a little more uptight, but I don't necessarily fully agree with that because some of my favorite shows ever have been in Portland and SF, and some of it just depends what you're doing. And I kind of like flirt with political humor, like I'm not like right on it anytime. And I try to, I have a new bit, like that I've been working on. And it's like, I kind of like tell everyone up top, like, I just want to, it's like the way I get into it is like, your politics are like your kids. Like, I don't care about them, like I care about mine and I'm glad that you have yours. But my job is like to find the funny in everything. And like, if you don't make fun of both sides, I'm like, then you're missing a huge opportunity. Cause both extremes to me are ridiculous. Like a conservative that can't laugh at Trump, I'm like, come on guys. Like that was to one of me, the ironies is like, you guys elected a reality TV star for president and you have a terrible sense of humor about it. He's so fun. Like he's funny sometimes on purpose where you're like, okay, you're funny. And then other times you're like him getting COVID and then doing the drive around and you're just like, this is, and what he's doing now, like the rumor that he might like, where he's talking about getting Air Force One during Biden's like speech. I was like, this is so funny. And sometimes it's intentional and sometimes it's not. Like you have to laugh at the ridiculousness that is this human and that he's in charge and that we made him in charge. So you gotta laugh at that. And you also have to laugh at AOC selling $65 Tax the Rich shirts. Like you have to laugh at that. Like, and I understand what she's coming from. Cause I made a joke about that. Like, because my official political stance is like, I don't care about your politics but that person doesn't care about you. They don't. They don't care. They're not like, I hate celebrity political culture. I hate that anyone's popular. I don't like when they're on covers of magazines. I don't like when they're on late night shows. I'm like, I want like anonymous politicians who like, I just don't, but they can't be that way because their job is popularity. Their job is not to be a public servant, right? Their job is to they don't have a job if they don't get elected. And so they have to speak in sound bites and try and go viral and have big tweets and all this dumb, like this stuff with Crenshaw and AOC. I'm like, what are you doing? Don't you guys have jobs? Do you guys just tweet at each other? You just subtweet each other? Like, you're elected officials. Stop tweeting at each other.
They sit there waiting for the votes and stuff. And like, time to kill.
Yeah. And then retweeting your guys' articles or hate tweeting your articles, whatever it may be.
On our podcast.
Yeah. You guys have Crenshaw coming on?
We had him on.
Oh yeah, there you go. I just don't care in that sense. But I feel like when you can do the hard work of finding like the funny that it like works, like this Trump bit that I'm working on right now, when like I was in Raleigh and it was doing well, I was like, that's scary feel. And then when it can do well in Portland or SF or anything like that, it's like, okay, I just made a good joke here. And regardless if it's like it's fun to set it up though, because you're kind of like a cat when they're deciding where they sit down, they kind of prepare the area, and so you're kind of doing the emotional work up top, because if you're like, Trump sucks, or stupid stuff like that, you've already put them off, but if you have something to say on it, then if you can do the work, and that's kind of what the whole angle, I'm not gonna do the whole bit, but like the whole angle is that I think that Trump is like he's like a professional wrestler at this point. Like he speaks in catchphrases, he gives his opponents nicknames, and he remember he campaigned out to like smoke and lasers and stuff. Like, it's just so funny to me that this is the dude. Like, I don't know.
And it really is a natural like next step in where we were in culture. People act like Trump just came out of nowhere. It's like, it's where we were headed.
I mean,
really.
Right, like Obama, like I remember seeing the stat of like Obama, like broke the record by like 20 times of late night appearances by any president. Like he was in the, he's in the spotlight all the time and doing quote unquote presidential things. He was just, I mean, depending on where you stand politically, he was just a little less off-putting. Like he was just like, he's like, I'm doing this fun thing with Jimmy Fallon. And you're like, oh, that's cool.
He's so cool.
Yeah, exactly. And then, and then Trump, whatever. It's like I don't care about people's politics, but it is a little bit of like a relief sometimes. It's like, I don't want to deal with this anymore. Like people come up like, I bet it's good for comedy. I was like, not stand-up comedy. Like it's not anything that people necessarily even want to hear about a lot.
Yeah, when you go out, for a night, you want a break.
Yeah. And it's very divisive, it is like, I don't buy that we're more divided than ever thing, because we've literally had civil wars. Like,
and we've been divided. We were very divided before Trump. We weren't. It's ridiculous.
Right. And I mean, we had literal segregation laws. We've been literally divided more than we are.
We have killed each other. Yeah,
exactly. Like we're not more divided, but it is like, as far as like the consciousness goes, it can be like, there's just so many like triggered words and stuff like that you're just like, that can make it like a little dicey as far as stand-up goes,
Matt, can you go fetch my MAGA hat?
Yeah. Don't care. Yeah, I'm as equally triggered by MAGA hat as I am a Starbucks red apron. So those are the red pieces of clothing that trigger me.
All the people that had clicked the laugh emoji on this video.
Yeah.
Now you started like saying Trump is bad and stuff in there.
I don't think I said Trump is bad.
They've switched it to the angry
Did
emoji. It's happened now. So
is that true?
Yeah, it's happened. Well, it's not live, but
okay.
It will happen.
Oh, good.
It will happen. Well, you didn't say he was bad, but you're like, he's a funny guy. It's some dumb things like driving around, and they're like, oh,
he should have done that. I mean, should he have? Yeah. It was pretty funny when he got all hyped up on steroids. Regeneron! He was like a transformer. He was like, like, this is my secret code. Regeneron!
What was a press conference like in front of it was like a gardening company or something?
Oh, the Giuliani one? The Four Seasons?
It was the Four Seasons, but it's Four Seasons
landscaping.
Was that an accident? It had to be an accident.
So funny.
It's so funny.
How can you not laugh at this? That's so funny.
I didn't hear about this, but this is beautiful.
Oh, you didn't hear about that?
No, he thought it was at a Four Seasons, and it was at a place called the Four Seasons Landscaping Company.
It was right next door to like an adult toy store.
Honestly, it looks a lot like where I filmed my special. It is. It's like it's in a parking lot, and it's so funny.
It's really funny.
I just I don't know. I don't know where you guys. I mean, you have to think this because you're in the world of political satire. I can't take politicians seriously because they're not serious people. Like some of them are, but a lot of them just signed up for popularity contests.
It's probably most of the ones that you don't see a lot.
Right. Yeah. Camera. Yeah. Like you see even like a shift sometimes from like Beto was a good example of like Beto was like kind of under the radar. And he was like, if you're liberal, you're like, oh, I think I really like this guy. Like he's like, he was like, and then he's speaking Spanish in the debates, and even like you can be like super left. You're like, this is a little cringy. Like this isn't needed. They have subtitles for this. But that happens sometimes when you. And I feel like Crenshaw even may swing in that direction. Like once you kind of like get established in the limelight, it's like you're like, oh well, I have to do the next thing, And that's like we live in the world of entertainment, and so I'm like, I see see what you're doing here. You know, like you're trying to get another big tweet. You're trying to be in the news, you know, like that's your job is to get votes, you know. Anyways, all the angry emojis now. See, I tried to do Beto and Crenshaw. I tried to be an equal opportunist, which just means nobody likes you.
I tried to pick a team.
Yeah, you do have to pick a team. And it's like, I told to my wife, I was like, you know, if my brand was like, I was like, if I wasn't Dustin Nickerson, but like we just chose some random brand, like if I was like the liberal Christian or something like that, I'd be huge. Like, but even though I'm not that, but like it is true. Like it is, you know, it's like, yo, what side do you? But I feel like stand-ups do a pretty good job of not doing that. Like they kind of refuse.
That's always a red flag when you see a stand-up. That's their thing.
Either way, yeah.
The MAGA tour.
Yeah.
The Patriot comedian.
Patriot comedy tour.
Yeah, I feel like it happens more when they get more established in like the celebrity space, or that becomes like their brand, like Bill Maher, you know, like you're like, oh, this is what we've come to expect of you, you know. But you saw like Mulaney on SNL. Mulaney's my favorite comic. And he came out saying like essentially that the election doesn't matter. You know, I don't know if you guys saw that, but he said it on SNL, and it was something, I'm paraphrasing, but it was something along the lines of
election?
like, this was like 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago before the election result. And it was like, he said like, essentially like, it doesn't matter who wins, life will continue. The rich will continue to prosper and the poor will continue to suffer. Like he just like, it was like kind of a joke, but also like he kind of took away, and he got, and he's been, you know, pretty outspoken. He has the great bit about the Trump is like a horse in the hospital. You know? Like we can't focus on anything. It's like, this person is sick. He's like, I understand that, but there's a horse in the hospital. Like very funny bit. And so he's kind of been made fun of Trump before, but like people were giving him, you know, crap for not taking a hard political stance one way or the other. But I just don't think stand-ups want to be that way for the most part. It's why you see Chappelle make fun of both sides and Burr make fun of both sides, because they're like, it's not my job to do this. It's my job to point out the ridiculous nature of these things, you know?
Yeah, here we've said that, we've mentioned a few times, like there's like looking at things from that third angle. You could go from the right angle, you can go from the left angle, but if you step out, go from like that third point of view, there's a whole other cache of jokes to be made.
I tried to do one once where I mean this said off a lot of there was too many buzzwords in the joke, where, you know, about how like when you're a moderate, everybody hates you. But like, what does that even mean? It's like, well, like for example, like I'm pro gay marriage, but I'm also pro-life, which means I think if you have an unwanted pregnancy, you should have to have that baby, but give it to a legally married gay couple. And I thought that was a great joke, but everybody hated me by the time I got to the punchline. I'd alienated the whole crowd, and they're like, and it wasn't even like this. I'm not actually saying my stances. I'm trying to do a joke about you know being hated, and like
so defend your stance on gay marriage
from Leviticus or no.
I love when we tell a joke about Trump or something, and you know that all the Trump people are sharing it.
Yeah,
and they're like, oh, this is hilarious, and then they go, wait a minute, fun of Trump. You know?
Yeah, was Trump in on the joke when he tweeted you guys?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either, but I don't know. So you guys know.
We were assured that he knew.
I know that he's aware of Babylon.
He has shared it a few times. That one he shared. He's like, I can't believe this. It sounded like your grandpa sharing a Babylon article thinking it was real.
I did like I do this dumb little segment called Send News, where like I'll just respond to a news, and I did one on him retweeting you guys. And I remember people being like, he knew. I was like, how can you know that? How can you? I just thought it was like the unraveling of like reality, you know, like we don't know if the leader of the free world is ironically or genuinely sharing a satire site. How do you know anything at this point? It's a full breakdown. I was like, I had like an existential crisis. I was like, there's no truth. I was like, Pilate, what is truth? I don't know. It was hard to know, you know, like and I feel like that's the real struggle. And like, it's funny that you guys are in that space, because people do not catch the irony sometimes, but like, the death of like journalism, essentially, of just like, I don't know what's opinion, I don't know what's satire, I don't know what's real, there's not a lot of critical thinking anymore. People just are like, hey, I listened to what Tucker says, or I listen to what Maddow says. Like, I don't know. And you guys, or I listen to what the Bee said.
Yeah, we have those people. Yeah, get all my news from the Babylon Bee.
It used to be the Daily Show.
Yeah,
and I mean, the Daily Show in some ways is like, if the Daily Show was on right now, I would encourage people to watch that over most news.
It is going on, isn't it?
Excuse me, Jon Stewart's Daily Show. I didn't mean that as a knock. I don't mean that as a knock as Trevor Noah. That was unintentional shade. I really like Trevor Noah. I just don't feel like they're in the. What I mean by that is they're not in the zeitgeist, and they're not in the. When there was a time there where Jon Stewart was everywhere.
Yeah,
and there was like less news comedy. And there was also less streaming. And so like there's no one show that everybody watches anymore, but it used to be The Daily Show. The Daily Show was like, if you wanted news about way more than late night, it was The Daily Show. This was the thing. And so Trevor Noah, like, I just don't see his stuff as much, and I don't hear people talking about it as much. That's all. From what I see, I like. I would never throw shade at Trevor Noah. I like Trevor Noah.
He won't see this.
Throwing shade at these extremely successful comedians.
Yeah. I didn't mean it like,
he wants to be on the Daily Show.
Tell you what sucks about Jerry Seinfeld.
Yeah. I don't like to be that guy like, well, now that Jon Stewart's gone, it's not as good. You know, like, I'm just saying people don't talk about it as much.
That's us and the Adam Ford guys. The guy who missed Adam Ford. By the way, we rent Patrick out
from the Daily Show.
We rent him out if you need a professional laugher.
Oh, great. Shows. No, I've gotten a couple chuckles out of you guys, and it feels like an applause break.
Yeah.
Because it's, you're not you are a jovial bunch, but not loud laughers. But then again, you guys, we're all taking steps back. You went from Larry the Cable Guy to me. So that was a big step
downhill.
back.
But the best laugh we had from him was unintentional when
the camera
when
thing,
he started,
right?
Filming his forehead.
I had
and what a great guy. He's worth like $100 million, and he's like walking around filming his forehead.
So funny. I did I golfed with him like probably a year and a half ago.
Wow.
No. I didn't know him at the time, and it was very funny. You
didn't know it was him till later?
I knew it was him. Well, he would turn into Mater every once in a while. He would hit a good shot and be like, woo! And I was like, that's what I'm talking about. That's how you hit a 4-iron right there. But you get an opportunity to go golf with Dan Whitney and have a cigar. You don't say no to that. Mm-hmm. And but it was one of the coolest experiences, and he's just the best dude and very funny. And he hits the way we played. You take 2 shots every time. Every shot you hit twice. So you just put another ball down and you hit it. And he would always be like, that second guy's a pretty good golfer.
I think it was like a drinking game. You take 2 shots.
No.
That's sports.
Yeah, sports. But one of my favorite moments of that. So he lives in middle of nowhere, Nebraska, outside of Omaha.
That's what Nebraska is.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. By Omaha, middle of nowhere, I think it was either Lincoln or Omaha. I don't remember. All of Nebraska is the same. And
so you were out there?
We were out there. I was doing shows out there. And we went and golfed, and it was a very funny moment. We were in this essentially I don't even know if it's a private course, but there's nobody else out there, barely anybody, and he plays a lot, and he kind of runs the course. And we were like, he was driving, and golf has very specific rules of where you can and can't take the cart. And he went in an area that was very clear you weren't supposed to go. And the reason that you don't do it is because it was wet, so it was tearing up the course. And some groundskeeper saw him and was like, hey, what are you doing? Yelling, started driving, and then he got closer and he was like, oh, Larry! And it was totally fine.
He's mudding.
It is exactly. It's like that's the kind of power play that you have right there. Yeah, that's you drive your golf cart wherever you want, buddy. You're Mater. It was just so funny to see somebody transform like that. Like you were going to be hard, and then you realized I'm not the alpha here. I don't want to be the guy that scares him off of our course.
Yeah, true. Well, subscriber lounge.
Yeah,
we're going to get some juicy stories about Mark Driscoll.
About getting booed off the stage.
Yeah, no, I don't know that he knows who I am.
Bomb stories.
You had some other, you teased some things there.
There was stuff at the beginning. I think it was some of his bombs.
Getting booed off the stage.
Yeah.
And,
something else.
Yeah.
You guys love a good bomb story.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. We do.
And then, who are some comedians you've performed with? What are they like behind the scenes? How much cocaine do they do?
All of it.
How many pixie sticks do they snort? All right, everybody else, give us money so you can hear this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's going to be great.
And thanks for coming on. You can check out the comedy special.
Your new special, let's mention that.
Overwhelmed.
Yeah, tell me your guys' thoughts on the special.
It was great.
I heard Dan laughing a lot in here.
Listening
while I was
to it
hard
driving was good. Yeah. Don't watch it while driving. Just listen to it.
Yes, it's available on Amazon.
And it makes you feel better. I've never seen a full Larry the Cable Guy special either.
Oh, there you go. It does or doesn't. It doesn't.
Coming up next for Babylon Bee subscribers.
So he got booed off the stage.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You know, cliches of like, you know, doesn't kill you, makes you stronger. And I was like, yeah, I still wish that would have never happened.
You got any good Mark Driscoll stories?
I would say one of my favorite comics that I work with regularly is Brad Garrett.
Enjoying this hard-hitting interview? Become a Babylon Bee subscriber to hear the rest of this conversation. Go to babylonbee.com/plans for full-length, ad-free podcasts. Kyle and Ethan would like to thank Seth Dillon for paying the bills, Adam Ford for creating their job, the other writers for tirelessly pitching headlines, the subscribers, and you, the listener. Until next time, this is Dave D'Andrea, the voice of the Babylon Bee.